Hi, my name is Sarah Vickers-Webb, and I'm with Santa Cruz Tech Beat. I'm here with Dennis Donohue of the Western Growers Center of Innovation and Technology. Good morning, Dennis.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, so first off, Dennis, would you like to describe what you do at the center?
Well, I am the director of Western Growers Center for Innovation and Technology. We're headquartered in Salinas, but we serve the entire Western Growers membership base, which our membership geographically, they're located in California, Arizona, Colorado, and for good measure, we throw in the New Mexico Chili Pepper Association. So it's, so like I say, in Salinas, but for a broader network.
Okay, and you're the director. So how is your
Correct.
role and the activity at the center as well? How has it shifted since the coronavirus and shelter in place began?
Well, as you might imagine, it's difficult to run around and be present throughout that geography I described earlier. And so, like I think the country at large, we're all getting much more familiar with how to operate virtually, and so we're setting up shop to do that and try and preserve as many routines and maintain and build a momentum where appropriate, because we call them residents in the Innovation Center. Our residents, the business folks, the entrepreneurs, the solution providers, they're obviously still interested in market access. I think in many respects, our grower members, certain aspects of innovation probably become increasingly important at a time like this. On the other hand, this is a new moment. This is new terrain for everybody, and so folks are navigating through their day-to-day right now, very quite focused on that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What do you think? What do you think is the pandemic's greatest effect on the ag tech industry?
Well, I think from an ag tech standpoint, one of the I was encouraged as I talked to our grower members and so some of our shippers or grower shipper processors, and one of them whose crop was being was in harm's way right now in terms of the marketplace, the business downturn, particularly on the food service and the hospitality side. But he said, I have to be very, very focused on what I'm doing, but I also understand the importance of innovation, and we've got to keep that process moving. There may be some near-term limitations in terms of ability to focus, but the understanding that that innovation, new ways of working, driving costs out of the system are going to be important. So that was encouraging. And then another player, much larger, said, we do view this as a time of opportunity, and we want to step up to the plate and make sure we can increase our trialing capability and help people keep moving. But what I will say, under all circumstances, regardless of who you're talking to, folks with that disposition or investors, it's very, very clear if you're looking at new things or quote unquote ag tech related activities, you're going to be much more focused. As somebody said yesterday to me, I don't have the latitude of looking at 5 to 10 things like I might normally do. Bring me something that maybe a little higher probability it's going to work, because I have less time for trial. So some of the practical things you might expect to be a consequence of all this, I think you can count on them. Count on it being the case in the ag tech marketplace.
Yeah, and I imagine probably in a lot of marketplaces that's happening.
I think that's pretty much it across the board. I think all of us who are following the news, and obviously there's in recent days, the conversation about how do we reopen the economy, how to restart it, and I think there's a bit of a sense of urgency about it. It needs to get moving again. So how all that takes out, I think everybody's got a real sense of urgency right now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so for listeners who don't know, the Western Growers Center for Innovation and Technology in Salinas, it functions as an incubator for ag tech startups. Is there any interesting work you've seen, like any production pivots in startups or
Well,
anything like that?
before I comment on that, one of the things I like to tell people, in the ag tech world, uh, you know, incubators and accelerators are all good. I like our positioning. We're actually an innovation and technology center, and because we represent market access, we provide some of the same services that incubators and accelerators do, but really our role is to get folks across the finish line, to provide solution for our members, because at the end of the day, all entrepreneurs or solution providers, they're looking for somebody who can buy something, and that's Western growers. So our positioning is a little different. I think in terms of pivots, you know, this is a difficult moment, but for instance, if you're working on automation, and that becomes, I think, heightened in importance on a go-forward basis, because we know whether it's social distancing or perhaps less access to labor over time, how do you move those solutions forward? They still only can go as fast as they can go, but the need to focus on them, you can't necessarily pivot and say we're going to do that, though I will say folks who feel they are close on particular pieces of equipment, they're going to look to drive it and get them into play sooner rather than later if it's possible. I think where I'm seeing some some immediate pivots is on the data side. There's a lot of conversation about how do you connect folks with, unfortunately, oversupply, and as you might imagine, with the educational community shut down, with the restaurant and hospitality trade, and so many folks applying for unemployment. You're starting to see software products that, how do we provide connectivity with who has food, who needs food, and how can you contribute to that? So that's an immediate pivot. One of our residents, Heavy Connect, has come up with a product to try and provide that type of connectivity. So they reacted very, very quickly. But certainly from my perspective, the food safety conversation, we've been looking a lot on, we've had to deal with E. coli issues, and now obviously with COVID-19, you add another dimension to food safety. So what's interesting about the COVID deal is obviously folks are interested in rapid diagnostics, immediate detection. So so part of my recent activities included, like, okay, who's doing that in other fields, and can we get a crossover? Or you're seeing organizations like UCSF or Stanford working on things. Hey, should we go talk to those folks? So we're certainly mindful. In no way, shape, or form does anyone want to have had this quote unquote opportunity to look at new technologies. That juice is not worth the squeeze.
Yes.
That said, if there's some other things going on that we can take advantage of or explore, we would be remiss not to. So that idea of, because a lot of times in the innovation world, you're panning for gold, looking for new companies, but we have to be more, at the moment, it's a time to be very strategic and focus your outreach and invite people in. And, since agriculture is an essential industry, and the food supply folks are concerned about, again, follow the national news, a lot of conversations about that. We would be remiss not to fully explore, are there some technologies, innovators, researchers out there that we need to be talking to?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You don't want it, not that it's a great thing that this has happened by any stretch of the imagination, but everyone kind of just has to figure out.
Yeah, I don't want to be casual. There, the old, hey, you never want to waste a crisis. I would not at all want to be glib about that conversation, but I would want to be responsible and say, given what's going on, are there some crossover things we ought to be aware of, even if we can't get immediate attention because of the COVID public health issues, but let's take note what's going on, and at the right time, we need to be talking to some of those folks, I would think.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, so one last question. Can you tell us something about your center during the pandemic that makes you proud?
Well, I'm pleased that we're that we're functioning, that we're in, I think what this moment has done is really dig in your heels and try and support your immediate community, your residents, the sponsors who support the center, and then, anyone who's been involved in ag. And, I was involved in the industry for 30 plus years, as we like to say around here. I was a produce guy, kind of the proverbial salesman married to a farmer's daughter. I mean, we view this as a way of life, and kind of defines who we are and what we do. And I think Western Growers, representing the production side of things, I mean, that's just in our DNA. And what comes along with that is kind of a sense of mission. What do our members need? How can we serve them? And we're really conscientious of that right now, and indeed more than ever. And then likewise, the folks, whether it's the entrepreneurs, our sponsors, whether it's the investors, what can we be doing on their behalf? And we're doing that. We're not absent without leave. We're on the job as best we can be under these circumstances.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, Dennis.
Thanks very much for having us and giving us the opportunity to talk about what we're doing right now. We appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.